One conversation. That was all it took. Not a front office meeting. Not a medical report. Not a call from the coaching staff. One conversation, quiet, private, and between two people who most of the baseball world would never think to connect. And when it was over, the Dodgers made a decision that surprised everyone who didn't know what had happened behind that closed door. Ben Rortvedt was coming back. The news broke fast. The transaction wire lit up. Reporters scrambled. Fans did the math on the roster. But nobody was asking the real question. Not yet. Not the question that mattered most. Why now? The Dodgers had survived the injury chaos. They had patched the catcher position with the options available. The roster was not perfect, but it was functioning. There was no obvious baseball reason to rush Rortvedt back into the picture at this exact moment. No looming deadline. No glaring statistical hole that demanded his specific presence. And yet here he was. Back in a Dodgers uniform. Back behind the plate. Something had changed. And when Clayton Kershaw spoke about it, carefully, slowly, in that low voice he uses when he wants you to understand that he is not exaggerating, it became clear that the something that had changed was not a medical clearance form. It was Shohei Ohtani. To understand why this matters, you have to go back to what the Dodgers catcher situation actually looked like during the worst of it. It was not pretty. It was the kind of injury pileup that makes a front office lose sleep. The depth chart at catcher had thinned out in a way that left the team exposed, not just in games, but in the quiet, invisible work that happens between innings and before first pitch. The work that never shows up in the box score but shapes everything that does. Pitchers talk to their catchers. They build rhythms. They build trust. They build a shared language of finger signals and glove positions and small head nods that communicate in fractions of a second what a full conversation would take minutes to cover. When that language gets disrupted, when a new face is suddenly crouching behind the plate, the effect ripples outward in ways that are hard to measure and impossible to ignore. For most of the Dodgers pitching staff, the disruption was uncomfortable. For Shohei Ohtani, it was something more specific than that. Ohtani does not return to the mound lightly. He never has. His two-way preparation is not a matter of showing up and trusting instinct. It is a deeply structured process, mechanical, intentional, almost architectural in its precision. Every decision about arm angle and pitch sequencing and how to approach a particular hitter in a particular count is built inside a relationship with the person catching him. That relationship is the foundation everything else stands on. When Rortvedt went down, that foundation cracked. Clayton Kershaw did not say it was a crisis. Kershaw rarely uses that word. But the way he described those weeks in the press area, sitting with his arms folded, choosing his words with the deliberateness of a man who spent 2 decades pitching to contact, made it clear that the catcher situation had registered with him as more than a minor inconvenience. A reporter asked him directly, did the loss of Rortvedt affect the pitching staff in ways that went beyond the statistical? Kershaw nodded before the question was fully out of the reporter's mouth. There's a real relationship there, he said. Especially for Shohei. The way he prepares, the way he processes a lineup, he needs someone who has done that work with him. Someone who knows what he's thinking before he has to say it. He paused. Unfolded his arms. Leaned forward slightly. When that's gone, it's not that you can't function. You can function. But there's a cost to it. And I think everyone on the staff felt that cost. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Kershaw added something that stopped the follow-up questions before they could form. I think Shohei felt it most. Pedro Martinez heard about it differently. Not from inside the clubhouse. Not from the coaching staff. But from the kind of baseball network that exists between men who have spent their entire lives inside the game, a conversation here, a phone call there, a piece of information that travels through the invisible channels that connect former players to current ones. What Martinez said publicly was careful. Measured. The words of someone who understood the weight of what he was suggesting without wanting to overstate it. A pitcher at that level, Martinez said, does not separate what he does at the plate from what he does on the mound. It is all one thing. It is all one state of readiness. And the person catching him is part of that state. He let that sit. When Rortvedt was gone, something in that state was incomplete. That is not a criticism of anyone else. It is simply the truth of what a relationship between a pitcher and a catcher can become when it is built the right way. Martinez was asked if he was surprised when the Dodgers moved to bring Rortvedt back ahead of schedule. He smiled. But it was not a light smile. It was the smile of someone who already knew the answer to the question being asked. No, he said. I was not surprised. I think when Ohtani made clear what he needed, the organization listened. That is what you do with a player like that. You listen. The conversation itself, the one that started all of this, has not been described in full by anyone who was in the room. What is known is this: it happened. It was between Ohtani and someone inside the Dodgers front office. It was not long. And when it ended, the decision-making process around Rortvedt's return accelerated in a way that people inside the organization noticed. Ohtani does not make demands. That much everyone who knows him agrees on. He is not that kind of presence in a clubhouse. He does not raise his voice. He does not go to the media. He does not apply pressure through public channels or let frustration leak out in post-game comments that can be parsed and dissected. What he does is communicate. Clearly. Directly. Without performance. And when he communicates something that matters, the people around him pay attention, not because of his contract, not because of his name, but because he has earned the kind of trust that makes what he says carry weight. He told someone what he needed. What the team needed. What the mound needed. And Ben Rortvedt got on a plane. Rortvedt, for his part, did not make the return about himself. He sat in front of the cameras with the straightforward manner of a player who measures things in innings and pitch counts and not in narratives. He was asked how he felt physically. He said he felt ready. He was asked what it meant to be back. He said it meant he could do his job. Then a reporter asked him about Ohtani. Something shifted in his expression. Not dramatically. Not in a way that would make the highlight reel. Just a small shift, the kind that happens when a question touches something real. He's the best in the world at what he does, Rortvedt said. And part of what makes him the best is how seriously he takes every single detail. Every single one. Nothing gets skipped. Nothing gets treated as unimportant. He paused. To be the person who is trusted to be part of that process, that means something to me. It means a lot. He didn't say anything else about it. He didn't need to. Inside the Dodgers dugout, there is a feeling now that was harder to locate a few weeks ago. It is not confidence exactly, this team has always had confidence. It is something more specific. A sense of alignment. Of pieces being where they are supposed to be. Dave Roberts noticed it in the first workout after Rortvedt rejoined the group. Not in anything large or obvious. In the small things. The way the bullpen session ran. The way communication happened on the field without words. The way a particular pitcher, Roberts did not name him, walked off the mound after his session looking like a man who had just been reminded of something he had almost forgotten. There's a comfort level there, Roberts said. When your guys are comfortable, they execute. When they're not, you see it. You feel it before you see it, actually. He was asked if Ohtani's role in Rortvedt's return was something he could speak to directly. Roberts smiled. Measured. The smile of a manager who chooses what to confirm and what to leave unspoken. Shohei communicates when something matters to him, he said. And when he does, we pay attention. That's always been true. That will always be true. Kershaw was asked one final question before he left the press area that afternoon. A reporter, trying to find the simplest version of the story, asked, "Is this just about pitching? Or is it about something bigger?" Kershaw thought about it for a moment. Genuinely thought about it. The way he does when he doesn't want to give the easy answer. "Baseball is a game of relationships," he finally said. "You can have all the talent in the world. You can have the numbers, the arm speed, the swing metrics, all of it. But at the end of the day, the guys who win are the guys who trust each other. Who know each other." He stood up from his chair. What Shohei did, making that clear, making sure the right person was back behind the plate, that wasn't just about him. That was about the team. That's the kind of thing that doesn't show up in the stats. But it shows up in October. He picked up his cap from the table. That's all that matters. One conversation changed everything. Not a press conference. Not a contract clause. Not a front office mandate delivered through layers of management and legal language. One direct, honest, Ohtani conversation, the kind that only happens when a player has earned enough trust to speak plainly and enough respect to be heard. Ben Rortvedt is back. The Dodgers are whole in a way they weren't 3 weeks ago. And somewhere inside that quiet alignment, in the pitch sequences and the finger signals and the small nods exchanged between a catcher and the greatest two-way player in baseball history, something is being built. October is still months away. But the foundation just got stronger.